Call the meeting to order at this time. Roll call.
Thank you. Mayor Grimes.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Wiggins.
Here.
Councilmember Heckey.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Wallstrom.
Here.
All are present.
Thank you. Our next order of business is the invocation. We have Pastor Barry Galloway here from the Tehachapi Mountain Vineyard Church. And after the invocation, we'll be led with the pledge to the flag by Dennis Wallstrom. So would you please all stand?
Would you pray with me, please? Father, we're just grateful who you are and your care and concern for us and for this community and for this city. And as always, we want to be faithful to pray for these leaders, these servants. We pray you give them wisdom, and counsel, and understanding, and patience, and all they need to make wise decisions. We're thankful for them, and we're thankful for you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Ready? Salute, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next order of business is the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine and non-controversial by city staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion if no member of the council or audience wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired by anyone, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the city council concerning the item. At this time, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to have something from the consent agenda removed? Seeing none, council? Do I have a motion?
Motion on consent.
No.
Oh, you.
Item number 8, please.
Number 8. Okay.
Motion on consent with 8 removed.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the item as discussed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. Let the record show that it was 5-0 ayes. Our next order of business is audience oral and written communications or public comments. The City Council welcomes the public comments on any items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Council. We respectfully request that this public forum be utilized in a positive and constructive manner. Persons addressing the Council should first state their name and area of residence, the matter of city business to be discussed, in the organization or persons represented, if any. To ensure accuracy in the minutes, please fill out the speaker's card at the podium. Comments directed to an item on the agenda should be made at the time the item is called for discussion by the mayor. At this time, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to make public comments? Please keep in mind that you have 3 minutes. Sir.
Greetings, City Council. I'm Joe Viviano. I am a hangar owner at the airport, and I'd like to present a safety issue at the airport. To save time, I have some notes. If it's okay, I can pass them out to the city council members to
Give them to the clerk.
I've been involved in 4 situations at the airport where I've had to give way to public vehicles operating on the airport. Usually this happens when there's an open event to the public. That's the airport uses the park. On 2 occasions, I was going back at night taxiing on the center line, and there was this vehicle that was on the center line, and it would not give way to me. I always had my lights on, I flashed my taxi light at him, stopped the airplane, and I was ready for the collision. And he finally pulled off and went around. That was the 2 events that happened. Was they had dinner at the airport. The second event was a stargazer. Similar situation coming in. I elected not to come off the taxiway because at night you have no idea what you're going to taxi over. So I stayed on the center line. these two cars just went around. The third event was during the rocket launch. Ashley and company had it organized very well. If you look on that photo, there are 3 buses. If you look on the upper right-hand corner, you can see a blurred propeller. The engine was turning. We were about ready to taxi out and make a left or right turn. And fortunately, I was on the right side, saw these buses come by. And I almost hit the buses. I had to stop. The buses went by. We flew, came back, we went to talk to some people over at the rocket launch, talked to one of the drivers. I went to the Unified School District, talked to the supervisor there, told them what happened. They were amazed. When I offered next year, you want me to come over and I can tell you how to operate vehicles on an airport. They were open to that. The more serious situation that's coming up is on the 4th of July. 2 years ago, I had a hangar and it starred on that photo. I couldn't get my airplane out of the hangar. I had to send my wife out to stop traffic so I could get the airplane out. Once I got the airplane out and I was going to start the engines, these children were running around the airplane. So I had her move them out, start the engine, put all my lights on, taxi out, and I don't know if you're familiar with the taxiway, cars were going. I had to stop. They would have stopped me. So my suggestion is, if you look at the last page of that, is I think this is a suggestion how we can alleviate any traffic on the ramp area.
Okay.
The gate should be closed, and the barricade should be up, and they'll keep any traffic from the transient ramp area.
Certainly, we're interested in the safety aspect of it, and we'll review this, and we will get back to you in a timely fashion, okay?
Yeah.
To let you know what we're going to do about the
Okay.
safety issue.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Thank you. Is there any other public comments that need to be made at this time? Okay. Our next order of business then is, I got some certificates of recognition to be given out at this time. And I would like for Leanne Williams and Mick Williams to come up. These are two really involved people. They're a family, husband and wife, but they're really involved in the community. And I appreciate people like this so much because their involvement is so vital to what we do here in the community. And that they're going to be leaving us. Leanne is our district manager for the Parks and Rec department up here. And Mick is a planning commissioner with the planning department up here. Very involved, very smart people. And, you know, these are the kind of people that you hate to lose.
Yes.
You know, because they're not only young and vibrant and have a lot of new ideas and things of that nature, but, you know, how do you replace this? It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. So I have a couple of recognition issues here that I want to read. And this one is to Leanne in recognition of her dedicated service to the greater Tehachapi area. And it's signed by me, the mayor. And for Mick, in recognition again of his dedicated service to the city of Tehachapi. And I appreciate you so much.
We see what she's been presenting. I know that. Wait a minute, one more, sure. You're also.
And I wish them Godspeed, and they're going to the great state of Colorado, so. Yeah. Thank you. Good.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, at this time, we have a presentation by Mr. Harvey Hall of Hall Ambulance.
Good evening, Mayor Grimes and Mayor Pro Tem Wiggins, members of City Council and city staff. I'm once again here in front of you on a very positive note. Thanks to the interest expressed by Ashley Whitmore and her inquiring of how it might be possible for us to partner together to give the city of Tehachapi 5 AED units. And her inquiry was based on how I could help find AED units and what the cost might be. Well, considering our private-public partnership that I've had here in Tehachapi for nearly 40 years, it was important for me to have my staff, my Director of Business Development, Harley Honorable, make sure that Ashley knew that, no, this was something that I would donate to the city of Tehachapi. As I did in 2015 in donating the AED unit to the community swimming facility. And then again last year, as you know, I came and presented a AED unit to the City Council here for the City Council chambers. Tonight, I'm offering to present you with 5 AED units that we hope that you will place in City Hall, in the City Hall Annex, the Police Department, the Public Works Yard, and the wastewater treatment facility. These AED units are very significant to individuals in your community who may suffer from a sudden cardiac arrest, as it is the leading cause of death in the United States. Sudden cardiac arrest can happen to anyone at any time. Placing AEDs in key locations and making sure employees are trained to use them can mean the difference between life and death. I have attached to each AED unit tonight a business card for my manager of critical care services, who will make it possible to train the 5 departments in the use of the AED units. All you'll need to do is call his contact information. An AED is a portable electronic device that automatically diagnoses the life-threatening cardiac arrhythmias in a patient and can shock the heart into a healthy rhythm. A victim's chance of survival decreases by 7 to 10% for every minute that passes without defibrillation. The device is an important tool in the chain of survival, which includes recognizing a medical emergency, calling 911, and performing CPR until our paramedics arrive on scene. Thank you. A personal thanks to City Manager Greg Garrett and Mayor Grimes for supporting this presentation and making it possible for me to be here this evening. Thank you very much.
Your call, sir. Watch. Oh, okay. Yeah, watch him. Go ahead. Watch Kara.
Mayor Grimes, if I may, just for a moment, I'd like to offer my sincere appreciation to Mr. Hall, personally and professionally. He's been a huge positive part of this community, as you say, for more than 40 years. And the relationship we have with Mr. Hall and the Hall Ambulance is outstanding. There's 2 facilities in the city of Tehachapi and one in the county in the Tehachapi area. But when we started talking about AEDs and just trying to inquire as to where we could purchase them, how much they are, so we could budget for them, Holly asked Mr. Hall, and I think it was probably just that quick, and Mr. Hall said, no, you don't need the budget for them. We'll just donate them. And I hope we never have to use them, that's for sure.
So do I.
But to know that they are in key positions within the city, and your ambulance service is right behind that, it's amazing. So thank you to Mr. Hall and everything you bring to our community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harvey.
Our next presenter is Barry Galloway, the pastor, again of the Tehachapi Mountain Vineyard, regarding the Global Leadership Summit.
Mr. Mayor and council members, thank you for giving me the opportunity to tell you about an event that's going to happen in this community that I think is noteworthy. At our facility this year, we've been chosen as a host site for the Global Leadership Summit, which is a event that's been going on for 22 years out of Chicago, Illinois, focused on getting better as leaders. We feel when a leader gets better, everybody gets better. It's fresh, actionable, inspiring leadership material for a broad spectrum of people by world-class faculty, which you'll see a video in just a moment. We're offering at our facility on August 10th, 11th. I have materials for each of you if you're interested on how to register, the cost of registration, and just a little bit about the speakers. I'm excited to do that. It's never been presented up here. It's been down in Lancaster and Bakersfield. I've attended the last 5 of them, and it's really a fantastic opportunity for everyone to grab hold of. We do have a video I'd like you to watch on the faculty that they're going to have this year.
Leadership is influence. Everyone has influence. Each of us has the ability to create positive change and mark the people, places, and things we touch. The Global Leadership Summit is a world-class event that will convene over 400,000 influencers around the globe in 2017. Aligned with one common vision, when our leadership improves, our impact is multiplied. In business and government, in police departments and prisons, in churches, hospitals, schools, and families. We believe the best learning happens when individuals experience cutting-edge leadership insights from a diverse cross-section of the world's top experts. Careful planning and extensive consideration go into the curation of each speaker. Programming elements and special moments are meticulously designed into every summit. We're excited to present this inside look at our 2017 faculty lineup. One of the most influential and admired leaders in Silicon Valley, widely credited as the leader behind Facebook's transformation from a cash-poor social phenomenon to a profitable internet powerhouse, Sheryl Sandberg is consistently ranked near the top of the list of Fortune's most powerful women in business. She served as Google's Vice President of Online Sales and Operations and as Chief of Staff for U.S. Treasury Secretary before joining Facebook. In a broad-ranging interview, her session will explore her leadership at Facebook, her counterintuitive thoughts about gender in the workforce, and poignant insights into resilience from her new book, Option B. Laszlo Bock, author of best-selling book, Work Rules, was responsible for Google's well-known and innovative corporate culture. He is credited with creating groundbreaking best practices in people management, including programs to improve manager quality, team performance, matching people to jobs, and raising awareness of unconscious bias in hiring. During his tenure at Google, the company was recognized over 150 times around the world as an exceptional employer. What is the secret to outstanding achievement? Intelligence? Talent? After conducting extensive research in psychology and neuroscience, Dr. Angela Duckworth discovered that the secret to success results from a special blend of passion and persistence she calls grit. Duckworth studied advanced neurobiology at Harvard received a master's in neuroscience from Oxford and a PhD from the University of Pennsylvania. Before entering academia, her work experience included serving as a McKinsey management consultant and a science teacher in the New York public schools. Her current work in grit has led to consulting relationships with NBA and NFL teams, as well as the U.S. government and the World Bank. Returning for his 5th time to the summit, we are thrilled to welcome back one of America's best leaders and beloved pastors, Andy Stanley. He is the founder and senior pastor of North Point Ministries, now comprised of 6 churches in the Atlanta area and a network of 30 churches around the globe, collectively serving 70,000 people weekly. He's the author of more than 20 books and is passionate about serving both church and organizational leaders. Immaculée Ilibagiza is a survivor of the horrific Rwandan genocide that took the lives of nearly 1 million Tutsi, including her entire family, except for one brother. She survived by huddling silently with 7 other women in a 3-by-4-foot bathroom for 91 days, emerging from that unimaginable experience weighing just 65 pounds. Despite horrendous suffering, she has committed herself to a life of peace, hope, and forgiveness. She has written 6 books, has received multiple honorary doctoral degrees, and is the recipient of numerous humanitarian awards, including the Mahatma Gandhi International Award for Reconciliation and Peace. Born in war-torn Beirut, Marcus Lemonis was adopted at 9 months of age and raised in Miami, Florida. This serial entrepreneur has been founding businesses since the age of 12. Following the advice of former Chrysler CEO Lee Iacocca, he entered the camping and RV business, eventually becoming the chairman of the industry's #1 player, Camping World and Good Sam. On his television show, The Prophet, he lends his entrepreneurial expertise to struggling small businesses using his signature evaluation method: people, process, and product. As leaders, we are all faced with complex and challenging problems, and we quickly realize that creativity is the critical business skill that will help us move forward. Frederick Herron is one of the world's leading experts on business creativity and author of The Idea Book. Originally from Sweden and currently living in Singapore, Frederick will address why creativity is more difficult than we often think, and will help us learn how to become more creative as organizations and individuals. One of America's most principled and eloquent leaders, Bryan Stevenson, is the founder and executive director of the Equal Justice Initiative. Under his leadership, EJI has won major legal challenges eliminating excessive sentencing, exonerating innocent death row inmates, and confronting abuse of the incarcerated, mentally ill, and children prosecuted as adults. Stevenson has successfully argued cases in the U.S. Supreme Court, won numerous awards, and initiated major new anti-poverty efforts challenging the legacy of racial inequality in America. His TED Talk has more than 3 million views, and he is the best-selling author of Just Mercy. We are excited to welcome back Marcus Buckingham, another Summit favorite, to join our 2017 faculty. His best-selling books, First Break All the Rules and Now Discover Your Strengths, started the strengths revolution in business, uncovering the truth that high performance and employee engagement peaks when employees are empowered to work in their areas of strength. Buckingham's latest multi-year research project, recently featured in Harvard Business Review, will challenge leaders to go a step further and reinvent their processes in performance management. Juliet Font is the founder and CEO of Whitespace at Work. She's a warrior in the battle against a phenomenon we all experience: workplace overload and reactive busyness. A nationally recognized expert, her work focuses on the difference between meaningless activity and true productivity. Font will help us explore a streamlined method for process improvement that will reclaim lost capacity, unburden talent, and ultimately lead to more creativity and engagement in the workplace. We are thrilled to welcome back our good friend, the founder and CEO of International Justice Mission, Gary Haugen. He is a former human rights attorney with the U.S. Department of Justice and a leader in the global anti-slavery movement. Under his leadership, IJM serves thousands of victims globally, partnering with law enforcement, bringing criminals to justice, and restoring hope for survivors. Haugen is the recipient of numerous awards and has received the highest honor given for anti-slavery leadership from the U.S. State Department. He is the author of 3 books, and his work has been featured in Foreign Affairs, the New York Times, and Forbes magazine. And finally, Bill Hybels. Consistently one of the highest rated speakers at the Global Leadership Summit, he is senior pastor of Willow Creek Community Church, one of America's largest churches with more than 25,000 weekly attendees at 8 Chicago area congregations. The visionary founder and leader of the summit, Bill will once again share powerful and actionable leadership principles. His 40 years of ministry experience and giftedness in leadership continues to inspire and influence leaders around the world. We believe God will use the faculty assembled this year to stretch every participant. More than anything, it's our desire to help God's people grow their leadership for maximum kingdom impact, enabling every Christian to steward their influence and leave his or her mark on the world. We look forward to what God is going to do again this year through the Global Leadership Summit 2017 as we continue our God-given mission to energize Christians and mobilize churches globally.
Well, I personally think the faculty kind of speaks for itself, and I just trying to get the word out. I think the broad spectrum that it reaches across the business world is something we really wanted to emphasize in our facility and invite the community in to be a part of that. And I appreciate you allowing me to present that to you. Thank you.
Bravo.
Thank you. Any questions that anybody has from the council? Thank you very much, Barry. Very well done.
Congrats, if I may, but
Sure.
again, I just would like to thank Pastor Galloway for hosting this year's event. It's August 10 and 11, is that right? At the Vineyard, Mountain Vineyard Church.
Right.
Don't be afraid, it's a church talking about leadership training, right? We could all use some training when it comes to leadership and some inspiration. So I'm gonna go. I think Susan just nodded her head, she's going. So I'm looking forward to the event, and I would encourage everyone to consider attending.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to item number 8.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have one simple question, Ms. Chung. On our accounts payable this month, we have a line item for the USDA Rural Development. Could you please explain what that is? It appears to be a loan payment.
Yes, that is. Yes, you are correct. That's a loan payment that I believe I wasn't here, 1997 or 1998. Our sewer system failed in Ashtrack area. So that's all the improvement was done with a combination of many other funds, including USDA loans.
So to enhance that a little more. So the ash track was in the county, right, with septic tanks. The septic tanks failed. So the county asked us to annex the neighborhood and install sewer, right? So we put in the sewer lines and connected to our wastewater treatment plant. So there was a loan associated with that. So there was annexation, removal of all the homes from septic tanks, and installation or connection to our wastewater treatment plant. So there is a USDA low interest loan.
Okay, super. That answers the question. And I'll just go ahead and make a motion that we accept that as presented by staff.
Okay. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second on item number 8 as discussed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. Let the record show that it is 5 ayes. Our next order of business is item number 10.
Honorable Mayor Grimes, council members, Tehachapi Finance Director. The agenda before you is the adoption of the purchasing system ordinance. On June 5, 2017, the staff presented the first hearing of the purchasing ordinance change, which was introduced during the council meeting. Unless there are any questions, staff recommend council adopt an ordinance amending, ordinance numbers 375, 453, 494, 522, 674, and 691, and replacing Tehachapi Municipal Code Chapter 3.04 pertaining to a purchasing system.
Okay. This was an item that was brought up 2 weeks ago. We approved the posting of it and things of that nature. Any questions that anybody
This is the
might
public
have?
hearing for that.
Pardon me?
This is the public hearing.
This is a public hearing, okay. So that means I've got to close the, open it up to the public, okay. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to make a statement regarding this particular issue? Seeing none, council? I need to open it.
There's no formal hearing that you open.
I just have to let
Public
them do it.
hearing for an ordinance.
Anybody? Do I have a motion on the second reading and adoption of an ordinance pertaining to a purchasing system?
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second on the item as discussed. Item number 10. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Let the motion show that it was 5 ayes. Item number 11.
Honorable Mayor, council members, that's my item for you tonight. The first item I have for you is a request for a finding of public convenience and or necessity for the request of the Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control, ABC, at an address at 1668 East Tehachapi Boulevard, which will be the pilot flying gym project, as you guys are aware. So, as way of background, this is a fairly routine activity for us when a new business comes to town that wishes to have a permit from ABC to sell alcohol. The way it works, there are some state laws that indicate that there are a certain number of alcoholic establishments per jurisdiction, and that above that number there has to be a public convenience finding, meaning once you reach their term, which is saturation of the market, then each additional establishment beyond that has to come before the council for your approval to be given that additional license. So that's what's before you tonight. This is fairly routine for us. They're requesting a type 20 alcoholic license, which is just off-site sales of beer and wine only. And our belief as staff is that particularly because of the neighboring businesses, Chevron and the Love's Travel Center out there selling those same beverages, that it's appropriate to continue that trend and allow them, for the sake of fair market competition, to have that same right. As far as the saturation concern, staff doesn't believe there is any, because those facilities serve a much larger population than the jurisdictional boundaries of the city, which is why we're at saturation, but not necessarily from a population perspective. So with that as the way of background, it is our recommendation that the City Council grant finding of public convenience and or necessity for the pilot Flying J Travel Center to conduct, off-site sale of beer and wine at the location in question. And just for clarification, the off-site sale means that they can't be consumed on site. Sorry if I made that not clear. So that's what that means, off-site sales, is that they have to buy it and take it home.
Okay. Any questions from the audience? Council? Routine thing. It happens all the time in new businesses. So, do I have a motion on the issue?
So moved.
I have a motion,
Second.
a second, on item number 11 to grant a finding of public convenience and or necessity for the pilot Flying J Travel Center to conduct off-site sale of beer and wine type 20 ABC license at the location in question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Let the record show that the motion carried with 5 ayes. Item number 12.
This is my second item for you all tonight. This is the second reading of an ordinance adoption for the levying of special taxes under Community Facilities District number 2017-1 for public services. For the sake of time, you guys have heard about this about 5 times now from us. This is the CFD, or Community Facilities District formation for the Walmart property specifically. So tonight is the second reading of the ordinance and ultimately the adoption of the ordinance. And so pursuant to the meetings that we've had and the first reading on June 5th, at which point you guys received public testimony and adopted and formed the CFD, as well as read out, declared the results of the special election and introduced this ordinance. My recommendation is that you adopt an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Tehachapi levying special taxes within the City of Tehachapi Community Facilities District number 2017-1 Public Services. Happy to take any questions.
And if I'm correct, I believe that Walmart requested that it be done this way.
Yes, this is a condition of approval for the project. It's been an understood and stated condition between us and them from the beginning. And yes, functionally, they are asking us to tax them to help offset, costs on public services.
And it's only them.
Correct, it is only their property.
I want to make that clear. Okay, is there any questions from the audience regarding this issue? Council? Do I have a motion?
Motion on staff's recommendation.
I have a motion and a second on the item as discussed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Motion carries. Let the record show that it is 5 ayes. Assistant City Manager Report, item number 13.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Grimes and City Council. Chris Kirk, Assistant City Manager. The item before you tonight is the assignment of the Ben's franchise for refuse collection in particular to Waste Management in California. As a bit of background, as you know, Ben's Sanitation has served as the city's franchise solid waste hauler since 1975. And through the city's franchise agreement, Ben's is the only solid waste hauler authorized to collect refuse in the city limits of Tehachapi for residential properties, commercial properties. And I'll say, as a bit of a personal note, I've heard from my staff for a little bit. I've only been involved with refuse and recycling in the city of Tehachapi for the last year and a half or so directly. But in my time working with the Ben's family and the Ben's company, the employees and staff there has always been very positive. I think this is my opining, so I hope you'll give me that. But I think they've provided a fantastic service to this community over the last several decades. But as you might be aware, there's been a lot of talk over the last year about Ben's, and they have an opportunity to sell their company to Waste Management. Waste Management is the largest refuse service provider in the country, maybe even in the world. And they're certainly very capable of providing the service required under the city's franchise agreement. And so, in short, what we are recommending tonight, and I'll talk a little bit more about it, but we are recommending that the City Council assign the current franchise agreement between the City of Tehachapi and Ben's Sanitation for refuse collection to Waste Management. Along with that are a couple of minor changes that Waste Management has agreed to, which we feel like are in the best interest of the ratepayer of the City of Tehachapi. In particular, the first change is one in the franchise fee. So as a business, when the City Council grants a franchise, what the City Council is effectively saying is, you may utilize our public infrastructure, our public roads, our easements, and those kinds of things to operate your business. And in exchange for that, typically a franchise fee is granted based on gross receipts from whoever receives that franchise from the city. The current franchise fee amount is 6.5%. Waste Management has agreed under this assignment to increase that franchise fee to 10%. Franchise fees vary widely throughout the state. There are some that are slightly lower than ours, although we are very much at the bottom end of that percentage scale. There are some that are as high as 25 and nearing 30%. We think that is absolutely not necessary. That franchise fee covers the costs of providing the refuse collection service that the city has. We bill for that service, we establish new accounts, we handle the accounting, and we transfer those funds to Vent Sanitation for providing that service based on the donation adopted by the city council. And as you can imagine, because of refuse and recycling mandates in the state of California, that business has become more expensive over the years. There are new mandates in place that require data collection, reporting, and programs that weren't in existence back in the 90s when the initial rate was set, or even back in over the course of the last several decades since the franchise fees have changed via amendments to that original 1975 agreement. So we think that the 10% is an appropriate amount. For reference, for you, last year the city collected approximately $71,000 under that franchise fee of 6.5%. So in addition to increasing the franchise fee amount as part of this assignment, Waste Management has also agreed to initiate a blue card program. Blue card in Tehachapi is potentially misleading because Ben's cards are already blue, which is unique. But blue cards typically, as you're, I'm sure, aware throughout the state, throughout the rest of the country, blue cards are typically for recycling. So you have 1 can for refuse, 1 can for recycling. Under the new arrangement, you'll still have 1 can for refuse, the same size that you have now, 96 gallons. You'll get an additional 96-gallon cart at no additional cost for recyclables. And the hope is that we can divert more recyclables from the landfill. Refuse that could be recycled or reused for something meaningful, rather than the landfill, can be diverted from the waste stream, and again, used for something beneficial. Source separated recycling at your home is generally considered more effective than sorting it at the material recovery facility like happens now. Although that's a very effective process, source separated recycling, generally speaking, generates better diversion rates from landfill. This is something that we began working on with Ben's over a year ago, but we put on hold intentionally, knowing that they were going to be working through the sale of their company, and that's a private transaction, of course, between Ben's and Waste Management. We didn't want to come with the works at the time. This is something that the state of California, in particular Cal Recycle, has been pushing us to do. Frankly, it's good business. It's good business for the environment, it's good business for the community, and because we can increase service at no additional cost, we think that's a good thing. And we're happy that Waste Management sees it the same way and has agreed to include that as part of the assignment. And then lastly, the other primary change associated with the assignment, really the only other change associated with the assignment, is our intention at some point to modify the way that the rate escalates. Currently, the rate escalates annually based on the Consumer Price Index. That's an average of consumer retail prices that the Bureau of Labor Statistics at the federal level maintains for the LA Riverside area. So we use the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. We use that CPI as an average to tell us generally how much more expensive it is to live in the LA Riverside area. That's the closest area that we can utilize for an index. That averages a whole host of things, including things like lipstick and lettuce, cars, furniture, whatever. There is a subset of that index that is specific to utilities, which we think is a better indication of the escalating costs associated with utility service. Those two are not directly tied together because the CPI that we currently use is an average of all these different retail indicators or expense indicators. The CPI is specific to utilities. So it might go up one year when the CPI goes down, or it might go down one year when the CPI goes up because, again, the overall CPI, the CPI-A or the CPI all, is again an average of a whole host of indicators. This is specific to utilities. That wouldn't be done right away, but it's something that we think makes sense, and that Waste Management thinks makes sense, and something that we think we would recommend. That would have to be done via a Prop 218 process. Prop 218 governs how fees associated or incident to property ownership are implemented by public agencies. So Prop 218 requires notice and an opportunity for a protest from the ratepayers. So this isn't something that we'll just impose. The council still have to take action on it after a majority a protest opportunity is had by the ratepayers. was, again, it's not something that we're just shoving down, we're indicating as part of our assignment that we think this is the right thing to do long term, and then we'll embark on at some point here as we move forward with waste management. Aside from that, it is pretty straightforward. I know it doesn't sound like it, but really, Ben's picks up trash, sorts that trash, diverts recyclables away from landfill, and takes the rest to the landfill. And they do that based on a rate that the city council has already approved. Under the new assignment, waste management will pick up trash, divert recyclables from the landfill, and do it at the rate that the city council already approved. In an oversimplified way, it's the same exact service at the same price. Actually, it's expanded service at the same price, because now we're talking about 2 96-gallon cars, one for recyclables, one for trash, instead of 1 96-gallon car. It's expanded service at the same price with a different name on the truck, for all intents and purposes. In addition to the refuse collection component of this refuse service that we currently provide, there is a material recovery facility, the MRF, we call it, MRF. The MRF is located on Denison Road, and that's where all the trash gets taken. It gets put on huge conveyors. It's actually a really fascinating operation to watch. But it literally gets dumped on the conveyors, and there are employees there that sort through and pull the recyclables out. That will still be used. It'll just be a clean MRF, because the other trash won't be taken to the MRF. Right now, it's trash and recyclables. As we move forward with this new cart program, it will only be recyclables. So it's a dirty MRF. That's probably a dirty word in the industry, but no pun intended. But now it'll be a clean MRF, providing effectively the same service in a simplified way. When that MRF was constructed, the city contributed funds to the construction of MRF, because it was good for the public and would help us meet conversion mandates. And in return for that, the city would receive a share of any profits generated from the sale of recyclables. So the recyclable market is highly variable, and frankly isn't that good, and so we don't really receive much profit share. But again, it's the right thing to do to divert this additional trash from the landfill and be able to recycle it and reuse it in a positive way. The agreement that relates to the MRF and the way that it operates will also need to be assigned as part of that transaction. Waste Management's intention is to buy all of Benz's operation in that fashion, and so that agreement will also need to be assigned. There's still some details to work out, because there's a whole lot of things in that agreement that are no longer, that have been completed, including the language about developing the MRF. The MRF was developed decades ago. That's no longer needed to be in the agreement. We need to sort those details out, and tonight we're going to ask that you give the city manager and the city attorney the authority to finalize those details. But for all intents and purposes, again, MRF operates today, Benz operates it, MRF will operate tomorrow, Waste Management will operate it. So again, not to oversimplify, but it really is that straightforward. So with that in the way of background, again, I don't mean to oversimplify it. Hopefully I haven't. I'm trying to give you as much background as I think is appropriate and reasonable to understand the issue. Our recommendation tonight is that you would approve the amended and restated refuse agreement and the assignment between the City of Tehachapi and Ben Sanitation to Waste Management of California, and authorize the mayor to sign. And that you would approve the assignment of the 1990 MRF agreement and the 1993 billing agreement as amended in 1997, subject to final approval of the city manager and city attorney. Prior to the meeting, I provided you with an updated copy of the amended and restated refuse collection agreement you have in front of you. The changes there are non-substantive. They're generally clerical or clarify existing law, so they're not substantive in that way. It's things like, instead of complied, it should say compiled. Right? So there's a few edits that we had to make over the weekend, and wanted you to have the corrected version. That is available in the back in the public binder as well. So, anyway, with that as a way of background, I know that Sandra Pursley is here from Waste Management. She's been great to work with, as the rest of the team at Waste Management. So she's here to answer any questions you might have as well. I know that the Benz family is here as well, and we'd like to thank them for their service to the city of Tehachapi thus far. And we'll leave you with that as a way of recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to make a comment? Come to the podium over here.
Well, Professor Barbara Reynolds, Tehachapi resident, 43 years. Chris, I have a question regarding your fairly thorough presentation, and that is, the new agreement and the new procedure will involve two bins, one for recyclables and the other for garbage. And that duty is then placed upon the resident, is that correct? As opposed to bins or waste management doing what they did before, which was to segregate those two items out. Now, if the residents don't do that, what is the penalty that inures to the resident? As I understand it, there's going to be one bin, we're going to have two bins. One bin is for the trash, correct?
Correct.
And the other is for the recyclables, correct?
Correct.
And that will be done by the citizen, which means when it gets to waste management, they really don't have anything to do they?
No, that's not correct. But I'd be happy to address your question.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry, I should have spent a little more time on this.
Mhm.
I recognize that the recyclable, we even talked about it a little bit at that time, the change in the way we handle recyclables is probably the most complex or complicated part of this whole thing. I should have spent a little more time to talk about it. So, nevertheless, there will be no penalty for you not putting recyclables in the recyclable bin, in the sense that we're not going to sort through the refuse bin. Our hope and expectation is that people will choose to recycle and that they will sort recyclables into the recycle bin. If you choose not to, currently residents have a 96-gallon trash cart, and when we implement this new program, they will still have a 96-gallon trash cart. So if you put all your trash in the trash cart now, you can put all your trash in the trash cart as we move forward. Our hope is that you would not do that. Again, the goal is to divert recyclables from the landfill. They still have to be sorted though, because as I'm sure you're aware, recyclables include a whole host of things like cardboard and glass and plastic, right? And so all of those will go into that recyclable bin and will still have to be sorted so they can be repurposed or recycled. So again, that will still take place at the MRF. But there will be no penalties. We don't have a trash police. Our plan is not to, and I don't mean that flippantly, and our plan is not to have a trash police. But again, our goal is to educate through outreach programs, which Waste Management is going to assist us with. We'll talk to Sandra a lot about making sure that we get the information out to the public about what is recyclable, how will the program work. The days that your trash bins are picked up will not change. The expectation is that the recycle bins will be picked up twice a month. So you still have your trash bins. They're currently picked up once a week. They'll still be picked up once a week. But the recyclables, because our expectation is they won't fill as quickly, will be picked up on the first and third week of the month. So it's really easy to keep track of.
Thank you for that clarification, Chris.
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. My name is Kim Armbrecht. I live at 105 Chaparral in Tehachapi. I wanted to speak to you in favor of the staff recommendation if I could, not necessarily because I understand trash. I make a lot of trash, but I don't really understand it, but of the company. Waste Management, I've had some good experiences with them as I've closed my folks' affairs. They passed away. They lived in Lancaster. That company has assisted me with bulk item collection and even some hazmat. And I would hope that eventually, excuse me, that might even occur here. I don't know if that's in the works or not. But if you've ever attended the waste management collection at the facility, I think it's about 3 times a year. Or if you've ever enforced traffic law, you don't want average people taking hazmats around. It's kind of, you can get curbside waste oil pickup and things like that, all guided pickup. And that may not be an initial agreement, but they worked with me well in Lancaster. I thought it was a good company to use. If you have to lose bins, this is probably going to be a good alternative. They're pretty big, and I was impressed that notwithstanding the size of the company, they were personal in dealing with me. Maybe it was because, you know, I was dealing with a death of a family and all, but I don't think so. I think it was, people don't know that, I don't think. But I was impressed with the company, and I think it would be neat as the city continues to develop in this new century, this is where we seem to be going. More and more complex, just to throw the trash away, but it's for a good cause. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mayor Grimes, if I might address just a couple of the issues that you brought up, and thank you for that, for your experience and personal experience there. As it relates to bulky waste and household hazardous waste, those are programs that we currently partner with the county on. The county provides household hazardous waste collection days that we call them rodeos or roundups at the landfill, where you take a long list of HHW, household hazardous waste. And they do that a couple of times a year, and we partner them together on that. And we do bulky item pickup with our own city staff as part of our cleanup day annually. For folks that can't do that themselves, can't take a couch to landfill because of advanced age or because of health issues or for whatever reason, we call, we make appointments with folks and we pick those things up. I have no doubt, we've had conversations with Waste Management. They're very community oriented, in my opinion, and based on our experience and our research. And I have no doubt that they'll be working with us together to implement positive programs for those types of issues in the future. So,
Carl?
My name is Carl Garrett, I live at 702 Anita, and 212 South Curry. So I have trash bins at both places. Regarding the one in Curry, Chris, which is my retail store. Is all the retail stores going to get 2 bins now? And number 2, the only guy I've ever known in the town to pick up my trash is Paul, so, you know, I've been here a little over 4 years, and he was here a couple of weeks before me, so he's done a good job. I understand, a long time ago, the city helped pay for that recycling thing out there. So some city money is in that recycling out there. Are they going to reimburse you back for the money that the city has paid for? I realize Paul is selling it, okay? Now, part of that money, or part of that was money that the city paid for. Are we going to get our money back? And because that's our money. Also, years ago, us city residents could go to the site on Denison Road if we had extra trash and dump there, rather than going all the way out to the landfill. Will we be able to take our city trash that we have over to the recycling on Denison rather than going to the landfill? That's my 2 questions. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to answer that?
sure. Let me just make quick notes to try to capture everything. So from a commercial recycling or commercial refuse standpoint, the state has, over the last several years, adopted new legislation that requires commercial recycling for businesses of a certain size. Currently, most of our businesses don't meet that size. It's based on the amount of the tonnage of refuse generated weekly. But that, over time, the legislation brings that number down farther and farther. And so dealing with the state's commercial recycling mandates will be tricky, but not impossible, and certainly will be available to commercial businesses. And so yes, they will have the opportunity to get a recycling cart, but not as part of the residential source separated recycling program outlined in this agreement. And that's something that we're going to have to hammer out from a detailed perspective with Waste Management and bring back to you at some point for how that process will work. So right now they'll continue to put trash in their dumpsters just like they always have. From a residential extra trash standpoint, I'll be honest, I'm not sure that we covered that, except that as the MRF, the Material Recovery Facility, converts to a clean MRF, they will no longer be taking refuse there at all. Those trash trucks will go straight to the landfill. And so they won't be sorting trash at the MRF anymore. They'll only be sorting recyclables. So I would suspect that it's unlikely they'll continue to accept extra trash. However, and while I recognize it is slightly farther of a drive, residential trash is free at the landfill because of the county land use fee that we all pay on our property taxes if you own a piece of property in Kern County. So if you own a residential piece of property, you pay a county land use fee, and residential trash is free at the landfill to dump. But it is a slightly longer drive, about a mile and a half.
Okay.
He had one other question, which was the city's initial investment.
Oh, the
Yeah.
city's initial investment, sorry, I didn't mean to bypass that. So we did not cover any kind of repayment for the money that the city invested for a couple of reasons. First off, that investment was made over 20 years ago, and because of depreciation associated with that asset, we feel like that investment has outlived its useful life in that respect, generally speaking. And so, and in addition to that, the intent of supporting the development of MRF was to create an opportunity to recycle, to meet state mandates and do the right thing by diverting recyclables from the landfill. And that public purpose is still being met, and we think we met better even under the new arrangement. And so we did not ask for repayment of any of the funds that the city paid back in maybe 96, if I remember correctly. So 1990, so it's even farther ago than that.
Thank you. Any other questions from the audience?
I'm a local resident for 22 years. I'm George Sandy. And I'd like to just ask on the issue of trash, will we have the option to go with just one trash can and let the facility do all the sorting? Some people like ourselves, we sort out all the cans of plastic and we do a recycling there. So there'll be people coming up with that question. I expect that I don't want to have an extra big can around my yard to handle and spoil the scenery, which is not too good anyways. But anyway, the second thing I'd like to ask is if you've given any thought to the commercial trash hauling here in the town. Now, I can only speak for 2 points. One is the business park down by the airport at Green Street, and I have a rental down there, and I have availability of that commercial trash, but I very seldom can find room to put a wastebasket full of trash in there. And I suspect it's for the same reason that on the dumpsters that we have on the airport, I have the same problem. And that's when I lift that big lid to put something in that I generate with my aircraft operations, it's full of private trash bags. And I have witnessed people driving onto the airport that I don't even recognize and hauling out 3 big bags of plastic, trash rather, plastic bag, and dump them in there by the airport where you've conveniently located the trash receptacle for the hikers and the people that use the park. Well, I'm a resident down there too, and I can't find room for my trash sometimes, especially over the weekends. So I just wanted to address those 2 issues and see if you had any thoughts along that line, or I hope to spark some thinking along that line. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Go ahead, Chris.
Sure. So from a recycling standpoint, and I should mention this also, you're absolutely still able to self-recycle. So if you're already pulling your bottles and cans out of your trash and you take them to a recycling center or buyback center, you're still able to do that. And we hope that you continue to do that if that's what you do, because that's another great way to divert recyclables from the landfill. If you don't feel like driving in to put the bottles in the machine or take them wherever you take them, you can put them in the recyclable can and haul them out to be collected twice a month. But again, if you just want to put them in a refuse container, we would hope that you wouldn't do that, but you still can. but they will not be sorted at the MRF if you put them in the trash container. If they go in the recyclable container, they'll get sorted at the MRF and recycled. But if you put them in the trash container, they'll go straight to landfill.
Well, I understand there's more recyclables than plastic and can, but my thinking is that the facility down there will still be operating a separation operation, so, but I don't hold up, they can handle. Anyway, that's just my thought.
And so so that covers recycling. As it relates to trash being too crowded at commercial enterprises, typically those are things we have to deal with from a code enforcement perspective. If an industrial park is providing a dumpster for their tenants to use, their commercial tenants to use, and it's overfilling or overflowing, typically we're seeing trash being blown about the street, getting into by the birds, and those kinds of things. We have to deal with that from a code enforcement perspective. And at the airport, it's kind of the same issue. Just like you're not allowed to go dump your trash in Albertson's dumpster, just because you don't want to pay for it, you're driving in from the county because you don't have trash service, because everybody in the city is required to have trash service, so you already have a trash can. Not saying it's only county residents that illegally need trash. But you can't dump it in Albertson's dumpster, but you might, because we can't stop people from making bad choices all the time. So we try to limit trash disposal in places that it doesn't belong. At the airport, I know we've had this conversation a couple times. I think we sent out a notice to all the tenants asking them not to bring personal trash to those dumpsters. But if people are coming in from outside the airport, they're getting in through the gate, which is closed and access controlled. Again, we don't have a trash police, so it's one of those things we have to catch as best as we can and try to deal with either through code enforcement or other means. So.
Well, a lot of that trash originates from outside the city limits, where they don't have the trash hauling. And it's a sensitive issue with me because I'm paying a proportionate share for that trash in the business park, and also I'm paying for my share on the airport, which is part of our lease consideration, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Any other questions from the audience? Council? Can you have something?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I have several questions tonight. Mr. Kirk, thank you very much for that description. I think it did cover quite a few of the items, but one of the big issues that I've got, or one of the matters that I feel that we should have clarified tonight, and I don't know if it's going to come from somebody in the audience, i.e. either Ben's or Waste Management, but what we have seen in the local newspaper, which is naturally the mechanism that we all use for understanding what's going on, we've heard that the deal has been on, the deal's been off. You know, it's gone back and forth, it's vacillated, the Board of Supervisors were involved in things. And I think if we could just better understand, me personally as a council member and as a resident in Tehachapi, if we could understand, you know, do we have a catalyzed deal going forward at this point in time? And I realize and appreciate that the city has to keep arm's distance in a transaction like this. This is between two private entities. But we're being asked tonight to make a decision on something based on an outcome of two private enterprises. So I think it would be beneficial if we could hear from somebody that transaction is inevitably going to consummate, and that we are headed down the path to see that happen. That's the first question that I have tonight.
If I could I'll address it really quickly, and anybody from Ben's Management is welcome to obviously come speak to that issue. But the assignment requires the signature of all three parties. So unless that deal happens, I wouldn't assume that either Waste Management, I was going to combine the two names, Waste Management or Ben's would sign that agreement. So again, they all have to be party to that agreement. Without a deal being finalized, I wouldn't sign it if I was Mr. Benz, but that would be certainly something you would be able to speak to more if he so chose.
Additionally, this has nothing to do with the County of Kern. I know that Vince has an agreement with the county and the city, but we're just talking about the city assignment. So there we go. You read my mind, Pickle. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, to address Councilmember Hetzke's question about is there a deal or is there not a deal? And we read a lot about in the papers that the deal's on, the deal's off, the board of supervisors. First, I would caution is don't believe everything you read. There's a lot of stuff that even we're shocked to hear about ourselves or the deal or the city or the county. There is a deal, and we're trying to navigate through this deal. But it is, for lack of a better term, kind of like herding kittens. There's a bunch of moving parts. Sometimes there's deadlines on certain things. I know city manager and assistant both know that. There's a lot of things that I've even learned about this in the sense that when you're a company over a certain size, federal and state law says you have to notify your employees of a change in their employment or potential change. It's called the WARN Act. That's interesting because you have to notify them at least 60 days prior. And there's about a 15-day grace period after that. And if you don't have the deal closed by then you have to reissue a warrant notice. We've issued about 5 or 6 warrant notices, cycles of warrant notice, just trying, because there's so many different moving parts to this. I know about a year ago when we first issued the request to the city for assignment, there's been some mitigating factors through recycling programs and county issues that have kind of delayed that. At this point, I think there's a lot of politics involved at the county level regarding other Kern County haulers not being too fond of a different company coming in. I think it affects their power structure down there. Luckily, the city of Tehachapi doesn't have, that amount of, I guess, politics, if you will. We are still pursuing the county of Kern assignment. But in addition to that, we have secured the San Bernardino assignment, LA County assignment, Antelope Valley Fair is different. There's about 12 or 15 different contracts where we've had to go through this whole process. So it is a lengthy process. It is kind of discouraging at times, but this is the process. And we stand in front of your board today, happy to answer any questions. I know Waste Management, they are here to answer any potential questions you might have. We've tried to be as open and transparent about it, but these things take time. And they're, obviously they're messy in the sense that we never envisioned that it would take this long to get, this much action. And that's not in front of this council, okay? This council has been as transparent and upfront with us. I know the staff, I have nothing but great things to say about them. This time last year, city staff and Ben's staff was talking about a blue card program that was gonna have to be instituted one way or another, whether Ben sold or Ben stayed on for the next 30 years. And addressing some of the members of the audience, the reason why this is coming to a blue card program, also known as curbside recycling. That's nothing that Ben's or Waste Management or even this council wants to do necessarily. We are governed by CalRecycle out of Sacramento, and in their infinite wisdom, they dictate to the cities, the counties, and other jurisdictions on what they feel the best program is for our community. And they've even told me at times that, well, the problem you have with your areas that you service is that you've just spoiled your residents. And I say, spoiled our residents, what do you mean by that? Well, you're doing the whole entire job for them. We want the public to participate and sort of segregate their recyclables. And you can argue all day long about which program is better. Obviously, for the last 30 years and about 30 years ago, my father and mother invested heavily in the Dirty MRF program, which did not rely on the general public to participate. We asked you to throw it away and then we would sort it over at the MRF. And that system's worked pretty well for the city of Tehachapi. We've been in compliance before anybody else in the state of California, and that's a historical fact. But now there's a choice, and the city staff knows this and has probably addressed this with your council, that you can either tell CalRecycle that no, we're going to stay the way we are, and have this yearly fight with them. And I say a fight, but they come down with the recommendation that the city goes, like all the other big cities, into a blue card. So this city can buck them and say, no, we're not going to do that, we're going to stay the way we are, or you can go with the flow, which is kind of the industry standard now, the blue card program. So these are some of the things that, I think are great questions from the audience, but there is a method to the madness of why things change. Many more regulations in terms of food waste recycling, commercial recycling. We've made the argument when Power Cycle comes down to visit the city that, our city isn't set up to have 2 bins at every establishment, like Mr. Garricky said. A lot of people are gonna say, we don't need it, we don't want it. And we don't really get any solutions from, the people at Power Cycle. They just say, hey, look, you have to institute it, you have to put it in. And you're right, people don't have to participate in recycling blue card. They can refuse the blue card once it's delivered. They don't have to participate. The hope is with education and outreach, people will participate in it, and they will feel like they're doing something of the good. And sure, you're always going to have some people not doing it or some people not want to do it. But the overall thought in the industry and Power Cycle is that people will want to and eventually appreciate the ability to participate.
Thank you, Bill.
Should I stay up here in case there's any other questions, or?
You may want to.
Okay, great.
Thanks, that's a good explanation, and that does clarify a couple of the other points that I had. Could you, and I think maybe Chris has hit on it a little bit, but will the staff that you currently have over at the MRF continue on with sorting of the recyclables now that they're clean? Or will that staff and waste management coming in, will that change dramatically where, and I don't know what the current head count is over there on the sort line, but will that change with waste management and the new procedure with the blue bins coming online?
Well, let me first address the idea of will the material still need to be sorted? And I think somebody addressed it already. The answer is yes. I mean, first of all, you have your blue card, and let's say you're fairly diligent in putting your recyclables in there. Inadvertently, there's always a piece of trash or a piece of plastic or a diaper or something that's non-recyclable that gets in there. That still has to be pulled out before it can be, separated and marketed for recyclables. But in addition to that, you still have your tin, your various metals, your 3 types of glass, your cardboard, your 12 different types of plastic. There's so many things that go into it. All those, even if you have a clean, pure recycle card, they still have to be separated from one another and then processed and marketed separately. In terms of waste management, I think they're kind of chomping at the bit to answer those questions, but my understanding of it, yeah, the material still needs to be sorted, and it still will be sorted at the MRF until it's not viable to do so. And when that is, I don't know. I'll let waste management speak for themselves, but that's my understanding. So the material, regardless, still has to be sorted. It's not like you can just go from Joe Public sorting it to market. It doesn't work that way.
Okay, thanks. And then this is more a question to Mr. Schroeder. Does our participation with the assignment send a message that the city of Tehachapi is somehow involved in the transaction or facilitating procedure between those parties by us engaging in this assignment prior to them consummating their deal? And I don't know if that was clear or not, but I'm just trying to ascertain, are we premature in doing what we're doing without them being hooked at the hip? And I realize you guys got a deal going, and it's been going for a long time, but should the city be concerned that it is representing to the public that we are somehow trying to facilitate or make this happen by the essence of the assignment?
No. The way the refuse agreement is written, they have the absolute right to assign it. We can't deny the assignment unless it was an agency that was taking it over that didn't have the wherewithal to do it, and they didn't have the resources and the expertise. It's an assignment that requires our consent, but we have very little basis for denying the consent. It's not unusual in any kind of a real estate transaction where there's and this isn't real estate, but I'm going to get back to your point, why we're not implicated in facilitating the transaction. Many times in real estate, people are buying real estate in cities and counties, and they're not going to close escrow until they know they've got the parcel map approved, or they know they've got the zone change approved, And the county or the city that does that is not facilitating that transaction. They are simply doing their job of responding to an application. We are responding to a request for a sign, and we're signing. Now, they've got other transactions going on too. We're not the only ones
Right.
involving Mr. Bennett. And all of those agencies are doing the same thing.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that. That sets me, gives me a little bit of comfort. One of the reasons, Mr. Schroeder, that I asked the question, when I went back and I read this, this letter from Mr. Metter, I believe, back to the city, you know, and I'm just gonna quote what this says. At the start of this transition process, we were asked by city staff to compile. And when I read something like that, it kind of gets me thinking that somebody could somehow try to come back and say that the city has asked for certain things to be done, not the two parties that are trying to consummate the deal. And as long as we're okay with that, and as long as you are from a legal perspective, then I naturally don't have any other concerns.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor, I think I'm done. Thank you. And Mr. Benz, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions anybody else has? Go ahead, Phil.
Just a comment, and I'm sure I speak for most of us up here and in the community. The Benz family has set the bar for community involvement, and they have given their hearts and their resources to this community and sponsorships throughout all the years they've been here, and they are going to be a hard act to follow, and I'm very hopeful that the new corporation, Waste Management, will take that into consideration and be a new welcome partner with the city and its residents, and sponsorships and all the things that the Benz family has done for our community. And I want to thank you personally and from all of us for that partnership we've enjoyed all these years.
Anybody else have anything? Dennis?
I had a couple, a lot of them. My name is Mike. A lot of them have been answered. What about multifamily? Trash and recyclable.
Multifamily service will continue as it does now, under Waste Management, not Benz.
Okay. And we have no control basically over what people put in their trash, so. Does the county participate in this blue can deal?
There are areas of the county that have blue card programs. I don't believe that the county franchise areas in Tehachapi have a blue card program right now. But again, what the county's deal is with whatever franchise, and they have numerous franchises throughout the county that they issue for specific service areas. But that's their own deal, and this is our own deal, if that makes sense.
Okay, because it seems like with mandatory pickup, you wouldn't cherry pick who's gonna do the recycling and who's not. Yeah. And well, I know where it comes from, so I'm not surprised. But are we still gonna be able to take cans and bottles for the MRF to recycle?
We've talked about the buyback center at the existing MRF continuing to operate as long as the MRF is there, but I don't know that we addressed that specifically in the agreement.
On the franchise fee, you claim that the cost of business is going up. It's going to take more staff time to do the reporting and stuff. In the first collection agreement, it says that Waste Management will be in charge of doing quarterly reports. Is that something that we've done in the past or no?
No, we don't. We handle the annual according to the state via Cow Recycle.
We also handle billing and collections for the refuse service, because again, as you mentioned, trash service is mandatory in the city, and so we handle utility billing for that service. We handle the initial account setup and those kinds of things in our office at City Hall. And as you know, the trash trucks can be hard on asphalt, and so things like franchise agreements or franchise fees can help us offset some of those costs as we move forward too. Yeah, again, as it relates to quarterly reporting, no, that's not something that we were doing in the past.
Okay. Because, I mean, this, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do what, I guess, Sacramento wants us to do. I know my brother lived in Diamond Bar, they had 3 bins. And he lived in a cul-de-sac.
Green waste.
Yeah.
Well, I just said green waste, so when you be able to put green waste in the garbage, or does that have to go to the landfill?
My understanding is that green waste goes in the trash cart, not in the recycle bin. Typically, there's a 3rd cart for green waste. We're not implementing that program right now. There are areas in Bakersfield even that have a 3-cart system, but that's not what we're doing.
It just seems like it's an extra burden on the city of Tehachapi for 27 years or whatever. You know, the city agreed to help out the Benz family build the berm, and it's made everybody's life easy. You know, you got to say it is. And then to get some of the older people or people that are kind of infirm or whatever to sort their stuff when they could just throw it into the regular garbage can. It seems like this has no teeth whatsoever, and it doesn't do us any good because, you know, I think unless you have some kind of container in your house, you're not going to walk out to your garbage can every time and throw the milk carton away. It just seems to me that we're going to be putting more recyclables into the landfill than we're already doing now, you know, with the commercial and whatnot, you know. And if we still got to use the MRF, it just befuddles me as well, I guess. That's all the questions I had.
Thank you. I just want to state that, you know, I've been on the Solid Waste Committee for Kern County for a number of years, and I can submit to you that the people in Sacramento don't always play with a full deck. These people sit up there and make decisions for cities such as ours, and you know, something's going to have to change. But you know, this is mandated. We can't do anything about it, and the only thing we can do is vote these people out and get somebody in there that's got some common sense, because they have none up there. And I'm stating that truthful. You know, and I'm fed up with it. And no, that's not a political statement. It's just a fact. The other thing I want to say is I've known the Benz family for a lot of years. Paul and I have sat and fought each other, and we probably even cried together, and you know, we battled. But you know, the one thing that I always knew about him was that in his heart, he cared about this community. And you can see it in the things that he has done for the kids. Let me tell you, there's no other person in this community that has done more for the kids than Paul Benz. And I want to thank him for that. You know, he's a good man, and he's done a lot for this community, and you need to know that. You really need to know that. And so I'm echoing a little bit about what Phil Smith said about Paul. You know, I want to tell Paul right now, Godspeed, and you know, may you go on to bigger and better things. Thank you, Paul.
Amen.
I have spent countless Saturdays at the Benz Center for Youth Football and Soccer. And it's a nice facility, and it's taken care of by the Benz family and youth football and soccer. And I don't know where everybody would have played otherwise. But as far as recycling, I want to tell you, if you just kind of plan it out. In my kitchen, I have 2 trash cans that pull out of a drawer Trash goes in one, aluminum goes in the other. I've tried recycling glass and plastic and it doesn't pay me anything. But I can put those in my garage and just, you know, throw them in there and let it go in the blue thing. It isn't, you know, glass is heavy, but plastic and aluminum aren't. And we're all old, but hopefully most of us have grandkids. And that's what my grandkids are for. So it just takes a little extra time and maybe go buy a couple more cans, you know, the cans are about 3 feet high. And it's a pain, but I've got a lot of money out of aluminum over the years. So we just, it's like everything else that we have to do in 2017. We have more work to do, but if we plan ahead, it won't be that bad. And if you don't have a grandchild, somebody in the neighborhood does. So you don't have to lift all that stuff.
Bill has one other thing.
Whenever there's change, there's anxiety. I can recall when we used to have trash pickup and you put it in a trash can and there were people that weren't in a truck, they had to lift it and dump it in the back of a truck. And you wouldn't believe the angst that got at our city council meeting when we went to a standard can that an arm could pick up and automatically dump. I mean, there were people that said, oh my gosh, that will never fly. I love my old metal cans that they just come and get. But that's just change. And you know, I think most people and my kids and grandkids, they're very aware of our planet, and they're very aware that they have now, with a blue can, they've got an opportunity to participate in making our planet cleaner and better. So if you're, you know, if it just means you've got one more small can for recyclables, and you're doing your part, I think it's a good part for society. It's a good part that we all participate, and it shouldn't be that hard of a deal. I know in Seattle, my daughter lives in Issaquah in the Highlands. They have multiple cans, and then I was helping with breakfast. I was going to throw some just breadcrumbs or something in the trash. She said, "Oh no! They have this other little thing in the kitchen for food waste." Because that goes to a mulching center, and so it could go to an extreme, but you know, but they all the kids participate in the family of doing that, and they feel good about it. So we should all embrace it, feel good about it, and know that we're doing our part, even though it means we have to do a little bit at the house versus just at the center. So I think we'll be all right. Thank you.
Okay, do I have somebody that wants to make a comment?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm Sandra Persley. I'm here on behalf of Waste Management. First, I'd like to tell you that we're honored to be here. Thank you so much for your consideration. The other thing I'd like to tell you, I agree with you and with you on the grandkids. While I don't have grandkids, I do have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I'm very proud of 2 things. One, when they leave the room, they turn the lights off, which for me, with my dad, that gives me some major points, so I remind him of that. The second thing that I'm really proud of is before they throw something away, they say, "Mommy, is this in the cycle?" They say in the cycle right now, but they say, "Is this in the cycle or is this trash?" So I get that change, I agree, is a scary thing. I want to tell you that I was personally involved with the transition in the city of Ridgecrest and California City. And it was a scary thing, and like the city of Tehachapi, they had one cart. And if you recall, I'm sure the Benz family does, it was a different scenario. There was a change in rate, which you have the luxury of not experiencing that here. There were carts upside down in the street. So recycling was not a popular thing when we came to that city. And now, several years later, 5 years later, I remember because I was pregnant at the time when we started, they love recycling. They have a participation rate over 97% at their businesses and at their homes. I think that when you give people a chance, while it's difficult, it's a little extra effort, they like doing their part. They like helping the environment. I think Cal Recycle is going to be so excited about these changes. We're personally excited. This is what we do. We're excited to host workshops, take the carts, talk to people about what goes in the different containers, go to your schools. I think that this is something that your communities, from the littlest to the most seasoned and experienced in your community are going to be really excited about. So I just wanted to introduce myself. We are a big corporation, but we're real people. We think that this will be a smooth transition. Really, the only difference is that you're used to seeing blue, and now you'll see green, which is a good thing because all of us are going to think green and recycle going forward. So I'm available for questions. I just wanted to introduce myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, okay. One other question.
May I?
You got 2 minutes.
I just want to thank Paul and Joan, Pickle, and the entire Benz family. They're an amazing group of people. You know, I hear people talk about Paul being kind of rough, but you know what? He's a teddy bear. Paul and I have never had an issue. We always talk through what's going on. We understand each other, and it's good for the city of Tehachapi, and even beyond, for this community. So I just want to say thank you to Paul, Joan, Pickle, where's Pickle? Did he leave? No. There he is, he's behind. And the entire family and their staff. They've been an amazing company. They have set the bar high with America and all the different things that we've achieved together. And this is the natural progression of events, right? Handing it over to Waste Management. So I applaud you for a successful business.
I knew you was going to get up and say something.
Well, pretty hard. I want to thank this city council, previous city councils, the city of Tehachapi, the community of Tehachapi, and everybody having to do with what we've done in the last 40 years. It's not easy to do what I have to do as far as retiring. Mr. Schroeder, my bitter, sweet enemy. I love him dearly. We've had our ups and downs, and you know, it's been great. I have no regrets with anything in this city has done, and we're not going anywhere. We're still going to be here. But me and my wife and family love this city, and we're willing to do anything we can to help it in the previous years, and we are going to do it. I just want to thank this city council, other city councils, other community people, and for the help that they've given us. This city created what we did in the previous years. We only followed the direction of a great city, and the city of Tehachapi is a great city. I don't know what else I can say, but thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, I just want to say I think we've done enough trash talking already, so I think it's time that we need to get on with business here on item number 13. We have an issue here that we need to approve, the amended and restated refuge agreement and assignment between the city of Tehachapi and Ben's Sanitation to Waste Management of California, and authorize the mayor to sign, approve, and assignment of the 1990 MRF agreement and the 1993 billing agreement as amended in 1997, subject to final approval of the city manager and city attorney.
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion and a second on the issue as discussed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Let the motion show that it was 5 ayes. Thank you very much, Paul. Again, I'm almost speechless.
We're not going anywhere. We're going to be very involved with the city. It's our starting place in life, and we appreciate everything the city's done for us. Thank you very much.
Before we go to the next item, I just want to say that when Paul started, his trucks were so bad that he would fill it with oil and check the gas. I mean, these trucks were awful. Remember, Paul?
Yeah.
They were awful, and I'm not kidding you. It was a sight to behold.
But you know what? It was the city that gave us the start, the city that raised me, and a city that stuck by me through thick and thin. And I don't think any human being can ask for a better community than the city of Tehachapi and its people. So,
Thank you. Thank
I'll still be here, just a little more voice
some of my employees, Gene got out of high school, Larry got out of high school, and they all came with me and they stuck with me thick or thin. And they stuck with their city, and they both live in the city area, so thank you again.
Okay,
I have to
thank
go
you.
out now. Thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to item number 14.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. This one I hope to be a little more straightforward, but maybe not, frankly, quite as heartwarming as that. The item before you now is amendment number 2 to the agreement between the City of Tehachapi and the FPSE, Local 1850. FPSE, as you're aware, stands for Federation of Public Service Employees, and that is the union that represents our Public Works bargaining unit members. As you're aware, back on August 3rd, 2015, we entered into that labor agreement with the FPSE, and while the term of the agreement is for 3 years, there's a provision in that agreement that allows for an annual wage reopener. And it's an opportunity for them to sit down with us, and us to sit down with them and talk through wages and make sure that we're still paying competitive rates and that we're still able to recruit and retain the best employees. This year we had a very quick and successful negotiation with the bargaining unit, so I'd like to publicly thank them for that. It was literally one back and forth, so that was fantastic. And included in the amendment are 2 amendments to the contract. The first being for the fiscal year 2017-18, the city will agree to provide an additional cost of living adjustment to the salary scale for all positions listed in attachment A. Again, that's our Public Works bargaining unit classifications of 1.8%. This is the same COLA that the City Council already adopted and approved via the budget for miscellaneous employees of the city, the non-represented employees. And so we appreciate the fact that the bargaining unit recognized that and agreed to that same cost of living adjustment. In addition to that, the second item being amended in the contract is standby pay for pager duty. As you know, bargaining unit members take turns on pager duty. They have to carry a cell phone around for after hours emergency calls. It limits the ability of them to go out of town, to do a whole host of things. And as part of that, we compensate them for the inconvenience associated with carrying a pager. Currently, the daily rate for carrying a pager is $57. Under this amendment, it would increase to $58.17, and that's a 1.8% adjustment. So with that as the way background, the bargaining unit has already ratified these changes, and we're bringing it to you for concurrence, and we would recommend to staff that you approve amendment number 2 to the agreement between the City of Tehachapi and FPSE Local 1850.
Okay, thank you. Is there any comments from the public regarding this issue? Seeing none, council? Do I have a motion on the issue as stated?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second on the issue. Item number 14 as stated. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. Let the record show that it is 5 ayes. And now to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor Grimes. Just one thing that I'd like to let you know that we're working on, and that is, I'm sure you've read about the HERO and or PACE programs. The city adopted the HERO program a couple years ago, a little hesitantly, quite frankly, but did so because the federal government, the state, the county, everybody was jumping on board. And we have not seen any issues that we're aware of in the city of Tehachapi with fraudulent activity. The county of Kern recently has just decertified the HERO or PACE programs. The city of Bakersfield created a subcommittee where they were looking at it. The subcommittee did not make a recommendation at all to the city council. So they're still reviewing it. Wanted to let you know that we're looking into it a little deeper, and at some point in the near future, we may bring something to you that recommends decertification and or continue for certain specified reasons. So just to let you know, we are working on that.
Any other? Okay. Council member reports. Dennis, you have anything?
Nope.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a couple of questions. Asking staff if we've got any follow-up on issues that we've discussed previously in council meetings. The first item that I have a question regarding is the motocross track status. Do we have any update or any information from the state of California or the OHB folks pertaining to the motocross track application?
The motocross track application was received and approved, so we were granted the money, nearly $1 million to build the track. That grant is good for some 3 years. It's been 1+ years. The ball is completely in our court. As you know, we're working with the FAA. We just had a land use visit, and we have not heard back from them. They're asking some questions, so we've had some dialogue going back on different land uses that are happening at the airport. But other than that, it's just staff working with the FAA on the total airport, including the event center.
Okay, great, thanks. I asked that question partially because it was just recently announced that the Antelope Valley motocross track at the fairgrounds, it looks like it has ceased operation. And that was, I think, a surprise to a lot of people due to the fact that that was at the fairgrounds. And that was just recently put out there. Do we have any idea or any indication from the FAA regarding their recent visit, when we could expect a report from them?
Let me answer that, you may follow up. I would say it could be tomorrow or it could be 2 years from now, quite frankly. And I don't say that with any disrespect to the FAA, however, they're a large bureaucratic organization at the federal level. When you pick up the phone, you're lucky to get somebody to answer it. They have had documents in their possession for environmental review for projects at our airport for some 2 years that we continue to wait on and continue to prod them. So I would say your guess is as good as mine, except that we do continue to prod them.
Okay.
If you want, I'll just add to that. I did get an email late last week from the FAA with some additional follow-up questions on our land use inspection, so we're working on providing that information to them. So it's still in process. They haven't given us a target date for when we should expect that report.
Okay, super. And then I did note that the Caltrans Aeronautics Inspector, Tony Vargas, was here. Him and I actually had a discussion regarding some other issues, and I gave him a ride to the glider port where he inspected their facility also. Have we heard anything from Caltrans regarding his visit and whether he had any concerns with anything?
Glowing report as always. There were a couple minor issues. Chris Orr actually can answer it. I think he was looking for some dirt to be moved closer to some asphalt edges.
So there's only 2 things he identified. I think Greg's characterization of his visit is appropriate. It was glowing, at least with us, and we would expect his letter follow-up to reflect that. He actually said it was one of the best maintained airports he's been to, so we're proud of that. He loves our lighting and signage, which he thinks is fantastic, and he mentioned to us several times the 2 items that he wanted us to work on. There's some drainage areas adjacent to the taxiways and runways where there's some rutting that's occurred from the heavy winter storms. And so it wants us to smooth those out with some equipment. It's an easy thing to do. In fact, I already talked to Ryan Montgomery about it. It may have already occurred, our public works director. That may have already occurred, but I honestly haven't followed up yet to speak to him. He's out of the office. The second item is very similar and related to that, and that is the standard is that you shouldn't have more than a 2-inch drop from the edge of the asphalt to the dirt off the side of the moving areas of the runway and taxiway. We have a couple of areas where it's 3 or 4 inches, and so he just asked us, look, as we're out cleaning that drainage, go ahead and use your foot to push a little bit of dirt back up to that edge and recompact. And he said those are minor issues, and we fully intend to have them completed before we even receive his letter. So.
Okay, super. And then one final question regarding the Pacific Coast hikers that are using the airport. As most of us know, it's a continual stream of folks that are onto, in and out of the airport, around town, etc. Are we realizing any good, solid numbers from them for their contribution to the camping fee?
Sure. I don't have that number for you. We will have that number for you at the end of the summer. Last year, Our estimate was that we collected several $1,000s, but the payment box included both tie-down fees and camping fees, because it's an honor system. As you know, there's a box on the airport when you tie down your airplane on the transient ramp, or when you stay in the park as a camper. It's an honor system for you to include cash or whatever form of payment in that envelope and to drop it in. Now we have 2 separate envelopes, one for camping, one for transient. So we'll be able to separate those funds and give the council a reporting of how much that generates. But again, I'm confident it's significant.
Okay. Great. That's all I have. Thank you.
I just wanted to add that I'm a trail angel. My son, my daughter are trail angels. And I eat in town, and so do they. I see them coming out of, not necessarily Albertsons, because it's a long ways away, but Circle K, different places, and they're standing out there taking the plastic bags and packing all that into their backpacks, and then hopefully me or some other trail angel take them to where they want to go. So I don't know about camping fees, but I can tell you it is impacting our local economy. Okay.
The only thing I have is that last Wednesday I was able to attend the flag retirement ceremony on the football field. And that's where the flags that are no longer able to be used, they're either soiled or they're torn or whatever. There were several hundred of them, and the Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, all kinds of scouts were there. There was between 200 and 300 people there that attended, and we had the fire department fly in their helicopter and landed right on the football field, and you know, the kids could go over and you know, admire the helicopter. It was a very moving ceremony to me, being a veteran and having served, and you know, the flag means everything to me. And we don't like to use the term that we burn the flags. We retire them. Now, yes, they're burnt, but we retire them. And I think that's proper and fitting. I think that's respect, you know, for the flag, and it was very well done. And the final note I have is my son is over in Kabul, Afghanistan. He was able to get one of the flags that flew over the embassy there in Kabul, and he's sending it to me to give to the city to do whatever you want to do with it. So I'll be getting that shortly.
Mayor Grimes, may I ask for a moment of silence for the 7 sailors that lost their lives?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's have a moment of silence before we adjourn. Thank you, and the meeting is adjourned.
Hey, I have to tell you that Ed Wiggins was one of the guys during the summer that dumped those trash cans. And they scrounged things, and his friend, I don't remember who was doing it, but he gave him a hat, like